Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to L3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realm of planet Earth. And today's date is Wednesday, September 29th, 2021. Yes, early in the morning. Just kicking back here, having a good time, enjoying life while I can, and paying attention to my greatest capabilities. So, I was just keeping tabs on what's going on in the great state of New York. And of course, he had one tyrant gone, and another one has replaced him. Yeah, I'm going to be telling you what's happening up there with New York Governor Kathy Hochul. Believes that she is the queen of over the fellow New Yorkers, whether it's from the states, the state itself, or the city. like the Empire State should revolve around her. How meek, pathetic, tyrannical as she wants to be. Go figure. So, I'm going to be, heard this, show from Mike Adams, and he is an article here from News Target. You can probably get it on naturalnews.com. So newstarget.com. The title will be New York Initiates Medical Martial Law. So I'm going to narrate this article here. And of course, there's more information. The links on there is fantastic. But it says here, New York initiates medical martial law rollout with troops to take over hospitals where unvaxxed healthcare workers are being fired in Masse, in other words, at will. As it reads here, and who wrote this? Mike Adams himself. Okay. The medical martial law takeover of society has begun in New York, where Governor Kathy Hochul, or Hochul, whatever you want to call her, has announced a mass firing of unvaccinated healthcare workers to be replaced by foreign workers and National Guard troops. The same pattern of replacing civilian workers with military troops will be replicated across law enforcement, paramedics, firefighters, truck drivers, factory workers, and other sectors of the economy that are rapidly collapsing due to COVID lockdown restrictions. The upshot is what we are witnessing, a fast-moving military takeover society under the cover of a state of emergency following the personnel shortages that are actually caused by the government's own policies. The only reason hospitals in New York are desperately short of healthcare workers, of course, is because corrupt government leaders made sure all the unvaxxed workers were fired. These are the same workers who survived the 2020 without COVID vaccines, working on the front lines of the spike protein pandemic, yet now they're being dumped onto the streets because they won't take a vaccine in 2021. Yes, Queen Hochul herself, right? Hochul, whatever. If I butcher her name, who cares, right? Governor Kathy Hochul said Saturday she's prepared to declare a state of emergency in the states if the state's vaccine mandate for the healthcare industry results in an unmanageable shortage of workers when the rule goes into effect Monday, report WSKG.org over the weekend. New York is also announcing the use of National Guard troops and a federal takeover of local health care, as WSKG reports. Yep, can we say Annie Tenther? Damn straight. The state is also considering activating medically trained members of the National Guard to fill gaps in the healthcare workforce and could work with the federal government to bring in teams of medical workers to help local healthcare facilities. This is the opening phase of the medical martial law takeover of America, and if it's not stopped, it risks quickly morphing into increasingly totalitarian maneuvers by a regime. Like here's some examples. Military vaccine checkpoints on roadways and highways, military troops running food and fuel deliveries, controlling critical infrastructure, the weaponization of food, gasoline, medical supplies, and other critical items, restricting them from red states that refuse to push mandatory vaccines, Military troops guarding entrances to grocery stores, churches, malls, and other buildings, demanding high vaccine passports. Papers, please, before allowing people to enter. Military troops involuntarily extracting people from their homes at gunpoint and taking them to the COVID death camps run by the CDC. Here is a map of the CDC's currently operating COVID death camps. You can confirm this at the CDC's own website. There's a link for that, and there's plenty of places you could get the locations and all that. And the main headquarters for the so-called death camps is in the heart of New York City. You know, that's in New York. So I don't know where, so look it up. It's very interesting indeed. New York creates its own personnel crisis, then uses the crisis it created to roll out medical martial law. The pattern to recognize here is that New York created this crisis by firing healthcare workers in the first place. Then, at this personnel crisis unfolds, New York uses the crisis to roll out replacement migrants to replace all soon-to-be dead Democrats who were brainwashed enough to take the jab and install military troops into key infrastructure positions. You ever seen that movie? Do you remember that movie, The Siege, with Denzel Washington was in? And it's talking about the terrorist attacks, so forth, and use martial law, and of course, federal the troops took over and all that, took over the city. Yeah, very similar, but in the medical perspective. So I'm going to continue on here. It says, part of this PSYOP is to get American people used to seeing troops running everything, hospitals, transportation, factories, law enforcement, etc. Once all the troops are in place, Biden simply invokes the Insurrection Act, declares all anti-vaxxers to be engaged in an insurrection, then dispatches the troops to go round up and or execute all of Biden's political enemies. This execution list will include Christians, pastors, outspoken doctors, etc. And it says, I cover this all in today's Situation Update podcast, which exposes the genocidal agenda of the vaccine industry and the criminal Biden regime. Folks, you should check it out. I always listen to this man's presentation, and he's very persistent. And if he makes his errors, he'll figure out later and he'll apologize. So the human element has always been good. Always do your own research as well. But remember, Mike Adams, he got banned from all the big tech sites. So if that happens, if a guy like that gets outlawed, it has to be good. That's how I look at it. And it was on the contrary about the governor, Scum Queen Hakul, okay? It's so many things she has violated and contradicts in her own oath of office. And even, like I said, I'm not going to go through every word for word on here, but everyone should need to look at the Bill of Rights, okay, which is Article 1. And of course about the rights and privileges, okay, rights, privileges, and franchise secure. And mainly about the people too. To no member of the state shall be disenfranchised or deprived of any rights or privileges secured to any citizen, therefore, unless by the law of the land or by the judgment of his peers. So I'm going to leave it at that, and you can read it in its whole entirety. Mickey hit Section 3 on religious liberty because a lot of her stuff right now is even getting rid of the religious exemption. All right? Free exercise of enjoyment and religious profession and worship without discrimination or preference shall be forever allowed in this state to all humankind. All right, just to let you know, and she breached that, and the only way you want to suspend the Constitution under Section 4, habeas corpus, the privilege or writ or order of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in case of a rebellion or invasion. The public safety requires it. So, where's the rebellion on this? Well, people are criticizing or not taking the refuse to take the shots. That's the rebellion or invasion. If you really look at what rebellion means, it's a lot bigger, more violent, more of a bellicose environment. Okay, riots and so forth. All right, and of course we can do here bail fines, Section 5, bail fines, punishments, detention of witnesses. Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments be inflicted. So, what you may be doing can breach that also. And of course, enumerated rights and Section 6, but grand jury and all that's on here too. If you go to the final sentence here in the bottom, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. All right, so we can hit number 11 on here also. Number 11 reads, equal protection of laws, discrimination and civil rights prohibited. No person shall be denied the equal protection of the laws of the state or any subdivision thereof. No person shall, because of race, color, creed, or religion, be subjected to any discrimination in his or her own civil rights by the others of persons or any other person or firm, etc. Okay? So right there. And of course, 12. Unreasonable searches and seizures and interceptions, very similar to the Fourth Amendment. All right? And we can hit 14. Common law in the acts of colonial state legislators. It's here, such parts of the common law and of the acts of the legislature of the colony of New York, as together did from the law of the said colony on the 19th day of April, 1775, and the resolution of the Congress said the colony. So I was going to look down here. It says here, check this out. It's like the final sentence. But all such parts of common law and such of said or parts thereof are as repugnant to this Constitution are hereby abrogated. So that is Article 1, Section 14. So this is not, the order is invalid and a legal contract. All right? Plain and simple. So I don't know why this hell this federal judge decides to say it's legit. That's garbage, okay? That judge needs a penile microphone in his or her mouth. We hit 17 here, okay? Section 17. Labor, not a commodity. Right to organize and bargain collectively. How many of these people in these health workers are in the union? Okay, employees shall have the right to organize and to bargain collectively through representatives of their own choosing. And if you give the whole thing too, labor of human beings is not a commodity, nor an article of commerce, and shall never be so considered or construed. It tells you here in its entirety what they can do here. So everything has to be negotiated, not just for a stroke of a pen and go, it's my way or the highway. And I will continue on here on Article 4, Section 3. And it's funny because when you analyze this, it goes to the power of the governor. Okay? Powers and duties of the governor. The governor shall be commander-in-chief of military and naval forces of their state. The governor shall have power to convene the legislature or the Senate only on extraordinary actions. All right, so, and I'll continue. I'll read this in its entirety because so at least you folks can understand where this is going to. Okay, extraordinary sessions convened pursuant to the provisions of this section. No subject shall be acted upon except as such as the governor may be recommended for consideration. Government shall communicate by message to the legislator and every session the condition of the state and recommend such matters to as he or she shall judge expedient. The governor shall expedite all such measures may be to resolve upon by legislature and shall take care that laws are faithfully executed. The governor shall receive his or her services, annual salary to be fixed, joint resolution of the Senate and Assembly, and there shall be provided for his or her use suitable and furnished executive residence. So, they're nothing. She don't have any power on that matter. And very similar to if you read Section 4, nothing. Okay? Nothing at all. So, so right there, and we could hit Article 9, Section 1, okay, of the state constitution. And Section 1 here. Bill of Rights for all local governments, effective local self-government and intergovernmental cooperation are a purpose of the people of the state. In furtherance thereof, local government shall have the power the following rights, powers, and privileges and immunities. In addition, those granted by others of this provision of this Constitution. And you can actually read all this here. And, local government shall have the power to agree, as authorized by the act of the legislature, with the federal government. So they can do that, or don't have to. And it's called a local government's Bill of Rights, which I'll talk about, which I said too, they do have the power to nullify anything that's considered illegal. All right, so I'll leave it at that on that aspect. So we will go on here to Article 13. Yeah, Article 13, Section 1, 5, and 4. Yeah, 1, 5, and 14. Excuse me. I'm gonna see others. They have an oath of office. Okay, and I'm not gonna go through this in entirety, but I'll leave the quote here. I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will fully discharge all the duties of the office according to the best of my ability, and no other oath, declaration, or test shall be required in the office of public trust. Okay? So that's it. So right there, the governor and anyone else that are involved in that administration, at the least, breach their oath of office if they pursue this or support it. All right, so we can hit Section 5 of this matter. Removal from office for misconduct. Provision shall be made by law for the removal for misconduct or malversation in office of all officers except judicial, whose powers and duties are not local or legislative, and who shall be elected at general elections, and also for supplying vacancies created by such removal. Okay, so this is not another red flag. Another big major red flag on that on her actions. And I'm going to stop right there for the moment and not give you the definition. See, this is because I know in New York they don't have any recalls on the state level. It's only on local. But you should get her for impeachment under malfeasance. And according to lawdictionary.org, which is featuring from the Black Laws Dictionary, 2nd edition, malfeasance is the wrongful or unjust doing of some act which the doer has no right to perform, or which he has, in plurality, has stipulated by contract not to do. All right, so I'll leave that there on that motive. So the whole thing is malfeasance is totally illegal. So you could get her on impeachment, on breach of the oath of office, and malfeasance. Okay, so because under these executive orders she's doing, and we could hit. I'm going to hit back to the New York Constitution. We'll hit Section 14 here, and like I said, I'm not going to read it in its entirety. May not read it in its entirety, but I think in this one I will. Employees of contractors for state, local governments, wages, hours, and other provisions to be regulated by the legislator. The legislator may regulate and fix wages of salaries and the hours of work or labor, and make the provisions for the protection, welfare, and safety of persons employed by the state or by any county, city, town, village, or other division of the state, or by any contractor or subcontractor performing work, labor, or services for the state, for any county, city, town, village, or other civil divisions thereof. So the question is, what does the contract say for these health workers and everyone else that's in the state of New York, whether it's state or local? You can't just fire people at will. It's got to be contractual. So technically, legally, it's not an at-will state if it comes to contracts. okay, with the government workers, including public healthcare workers and all that too. And so I'm going to hit one more here, just Article 17, Section 3. Article 17, Section 3. As it reads here, where is it? Public health. I'll read this in entirety. The protection and promotion of the health of the inhabitants of the state are matters of public concern, and the provision, therefore, shall be made by the state and by such of its divisions in a such manner by such means as the legislators shall from time to time determine. So this is a little pretty vague with these orders, okay? It's pretty vague on when it comes to public health on this matter. So I could say this. Based on her actions, the woman is a tyrant, including busting up unions. Okay, so she's anti-union, as far as I'm concerned. Whether if you agree with it or not, folks, she's anti-labor, and that is repugnant, unacceptable. And this is why there are solutions here. Because I was reading through here, which I'm going to add all the footnotes on this article on this episode, and I will use found a copy of the broad resolution. The Bill of Rights Defense Committee. Okay, it says here resolutions and ordinances of the USA Patriot Act and other laws and policies that diminish civil liberties. And there's an area in under New York, if you on the PDF format, you can look at page 286. There are 27 municipalities where the city or county passed Patriot Act resolutions. And it talks about protecting liberties and uphold the oath of the U.S. and state constitutions, even though it's Patriot Act related, but it goes a lot further when you really look into it. And that is why I tell people about you got all this ammunition at your fingertips. You're gonna use it as rhetoric or fully execute it in good faith. Every New Yorker has a moral obligation on showing this governor and the lackeys who's the boss. Okay? That is the truth. And militias are illegal in the state of New York. Article 12 to be exact. So you can actually read that. But I suggest people to look at that. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that on my footnotes. And another article I'm going to address here, which is fantastic, which came out was updated on September 7th, 2021 by Alex Newman, which he does write for the Epoch Times and New American, vowing to protect rights. New York County goes constitutional. It happens in Cattaraugus County, which is in the nearly southern western end of the state, right along the Pennsylvania state line. And what they've done is not just the right to keep and bear arms, but anything that's considered illegal on the state and local level, they can nullify. So nullification is a rightful remedy, as Thomas Jefferson pointed out. And we can go further, even with Alexander Hamilton, like him or not, but he talks about anything repugnant to the Constitution is void. If I remember, that is Federalist Papers 73, I think, or 79, one of those. But that can work on your state constitution as well. So based on everything here, what Governor Hochul, whatever the name that wench's name is, I'm sorry, is void with no force. Okay? Plain and simple. And every county can nullify, don't have to cooperate on Federalist Papers 46, written by James Madison, and the Anti-Commandeering Doctrine. And I suggest folks go to the 10th Amendment Center and look that up. Just search engine Anti-Commandeering Doctrine and look up 10th Amendment Center. It tells you there's like multiple, like a couple of articles on there, which is very good. All right, and I suggest everyone read that too and share this to all your fellow New Yorkers. Not just in New York, but around the nation and the world. Education is key, folks. They want us to be dumb, stagnant, and happy. They like us all to be peasants. Doesn't matter what you look like, where you come from, and what your skin color is, okay? It's just the damn truth. And you know what? I'm proud to say that. Because deep down inside, they know I'm right. Okay, my friends, that will be it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, if you're interested in check out whatever you do, please any correspondence with the Quorum. Furthermore, I'll leave all the footnotes, what I addressed here, on my Spreaker page. If you want to email me, you can go to LokiLuck03@protonmail.com. If you want to donate, you can hit me at paypal.me or cash.app/LokiLuck3. If you want to support News Target or naturalnews.com, give some love to Mike Adams and tell him Loki Luck III has sent you. All right. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.